back. This is our second episode with the new crew. And of course we have Will Marbo, JJ, or 1-1, and Ian Johnson. And Will has brought a topic to us today on fatherhood, so he's going to take the lead today and start the podcast off. Take it away, young Will. Take it away, son.
So today's topic's about fatherhood. This past week, I've been on my own. My partner was away with the kids for the entire week, and initially it was quite nice, having a lot of time, freedom to do whatever it is that I wanted to do. It wasn't until maybe the fourth or fifth day where it had sort of started to sink in, of like, I've got so much time I can start reflecting on what's happening and what's going on. Some of the things that I noticed that were different or sort of strange, not having the family around, I realised that there was a lot of motivation that I got from them being around, motivation to get out and go and do something. So I found if I'm at home and the kids are home, they get my attention, and it's almost impossible to not. Like, there's nothing I can do really in the house. If they're awake, play with the kids or get ready and leave the house and go and do something. When they weren't there, piece of gully, you could just easily sit around and do nothing and waste the day. So I realised that there were parts of myself that I'd built up or neglected because I had it easy in a way. So in sitting around and doing nothing and being just a vegetable pretty much, I started getting into these, like, it's almost like this quite depressive state when you're not going out and doing as much, and when you're doing stuff just for the idea of like, oh, I've got to get out and do something, otherwise I'm going to do nothing today. And then when you go and do it, it's like maybe an hour and 2 hours, and then you're back doing nothing again. You start getting, I don't know, it felt like I was getting pulled down into this kind of like a rut. And I could feel like this loneliness and this sort of emptiness start to creep in. And the more time I sort of spent in the house and looking around and seeing, you know, all the stuff's still there, but it's empty and it's quiet and it's just me. Coming to the awareness that, like, they could just have disappeared, like it could have been a car crash and they are never coming back. I would still be stuck in the same situation, and it would be like, yeah, it'd be this almost almost like this painful pit of despair that I would have to go into, have to enter into, to start having to change and shift within myself. Start looking at who I am and what I've created myself into, to start building a new life. So yeah, and then that's sort of what it's been coming up for me over this last week. And then as the podcast was getting a little bit closer, I sort of thought about and sort of asked, and, you know, like, I'm at the start of my family. JJ's almost about to get rid of all of his kids.
He's halfway through, sort of, yeah. They might have grown up.
Yours, you're a granddad.
Yeah.
Granddad, jeez.
Grandpapa.
Unbelievable.
So yeah, just sort of
That's not parenting.
everyone's sort of at different points along this journey, and I'm wondering myself about what is down there. What one of the reasons where I've got to where I am is because when I see that and I feel that, I get this. One of the reasons why it was so scary is because it felt so strong, and I've got this urge to just go and do it. I want to experience it. I want to attack it so I can fix it. But to do that, there's obviously something that has to change. So yeah, what is your experience with that emptiness, and that it's almost like that feeling of having the rug pulled out from underneath you?
Yeah, well, I can specifically probably talk to that well, because I guess the other thing is we've all probably traversed parenthood slightly differently, so all having our own experience. So yeah, I split up with my ex-partner when the kids were 8 and 4, I think it was, and then we were sort of did shared care. And then like you, I remember when we first split up and I got a house to myself, it was just so quiet. You just didn't realise that constant activity in your house and distraction, if you like, you never really get too much time to be with yourself. And so here you are, where not only are you with yourself, but your role has changed as to who you are. Because you're no longer a full-time parent. Your role as a father has changed, especially now that when the children come to you, that you're a single parent, so you're not co-parenting, where you're now filling the male and female role. But I've also seen it with other guys who've split up, where all of a sudden you're thrown into this void. And who am I? And in some ways it's worse, because like if you said they died in a car crash, it's not like you can go and try and get the relationship back, or try and get the kids off their mother so you can have them. They're always still there, but you can't get them. So there's that real feeling of this feeling of helplessness, because you've lost control. Even though you might have made the conscious decision that the situation wasn't working in terms of being with that person in that situation. So for me, that was a long haul and of learning to be by myself. And it's hard. And if anything, I've got to the other point now where having people in my space all the time is too much, because I've gotten used to being on my own so much. Because I used to love people around all the time. I'm not saying I don't now, but eventually I'll go, yeah, I need... So I used to be super extroverted. Now I'd probably call myself an introverted extrovert, whereas I need time to recharge. I still struggle, as we had a conversation before, I still struggle not being around my kids, because as I found, like I said to you, when I went to Canada and I was with my granddaughter family for 6 weeks, I realised that intrinsic part of me and intrinsic humanness of me is that I love, and I think this is humanity in general, is I like to do things for other people. So when living on my own, I find if I'm doing something for myself, I don't find as much enjoyment out of it or value out of it. I really like to do stuff for other people, because I know whether that's...
Like what?
So like when I went to Canada, I'd fix houses much quicker than I fixed my own house, you guys know, I've still got a hole in the wall 2 years later.
Oh.
Because it was for someone else. And all sorts of stuff. And I like spending money on other people rather than most of them myself. And I think that's just part of that giving nature of most humans. Not everyone's like that, I guess.
I don't know.
So, like you said, it's easy to just sit there and do nothing. Just turn the TV on and go, oh, I could go do that, but it's for me. I don't have to, but someone else is relying on you.
Yeah.
And I think that comes back to that basic programming of the ego when we formed communities and tribes. and it was about safety and security. It was about and having a role in that tribe and belongingness. And so then when you're thrust to that alone time, you're like, where do I belong? Who am I? What am I? But can you get back to the place of being alone but not lonely? And I think I used to do it. I would purposely stay home all weekend by myself to push through that, because otherwise it's just so easy to keep going distracting. And all you find, I used to find, is I just burn myself out, because I just go from here and here and here and here and here, because I didn't want to go home, be by myself, do my own thoughts. When ultimately you should be able to be your best friend on your own and entertain yourself. So it's those moments that are perfect, because they're really showing you. And so when you do, like Joe Dispenza talks about, if you really want to know who you are, go to somewhere completely different where you don't know anybody, be with yourself, and you'll find out who you really are. So what was coming up for you was like, who am I? What have I built? What have I created? Or what has been created for me in terms of the context of, I'm a father and I've got kids, and that was the programming I was giving, and now I'm seeing, oh, hang on, what's different? So, and you don't need to fix anything. I heard you say, I need to fix it. You don't need to fix it. You're not broken. You just need to be aware of it and change it. So I had to do that too. I had to thought, I have to fix this, but there's nothing actually broken. It's a metamorphosis. You're changing to something else that you now realise might serve you better than the way you've been behaving. So it's about switching the way you look at it, because you look at you're broken, you can easily become a victim. You go, okay, well I had no choice in this programming I was given, but now I'm aware of it. How do I transmute it, metamorphose it, whatever? So if anything, it's like, I'm going to use the old cliche butterfly thing. If you help the butterfly out of its cocoon, it's going to die. So you have to fight through that coming out of that cocoon to be the real, so you got to push through, like you were talking, to push through that pain and despair and whatever to really, otherwise you won't. If someone saves you, you could say the same when people go and they go get antidepressants, and it doesn't allow them to really always, it just puts a blanket over everything, doesn't allow them to push through that discomfort and find on the other side and work through that stuff. People do it with all sorts of things, just distraction, alcohol, sex, whatever, rather than, okay, I'm going to sit in this discomfort. So, beautiful opportunity. How do you do it now when they come back? Do you then say, okay, I need to go do a day on my own? Or is it just that you now recognise it and you can quarantine more time for yourself? Is it possible? Do you need to? Because I think because if you think back to ancestral societies, and we've talked about this, kids had a lot of other kids to play with, so parents didn't have to parent all the time, and they would have access to other adults with a lot of silence. But they'd also, like in Indigenous culture in Australia, they'd walk about, they'd just go, I have enough of people, I'm going to go away for a week or two and find out who I am. Or maybe they weren't consciously realising that, but that's what that was about. It's like, time on my own, sit with me, learn what I am, where I'm at, come back with new experiences, learnings to the tribe. So added value as well. But I guess I think the difference here is that you're always accepted back. If you have a split from a relationship, you're not necessarily coming back to the same tribe. So you then have to find the new tribe based on who you've become, yada yada. But if you can sit in that space of just being comfortable with your own self and knowing you don't actually need all these other people to survive. In our modern society, we don't really need other people apart from people who are providing food. Like you go and buy it rather than catch it, but it's different.
Yeah.
You're safe. You can go home to your house, be safe. Whereas if you're in the wild, you might get eaten without the tribe around. Or killed off by another tribe.
Less reliant, less dependent.
Yeah. So it's, if anything, it's a beautiful time in our existence, if you want to use that word, for that growth to happen, because you can more sit by yourself and know, okay, well, all those other things are covered. Like I'm safe. I know I'm going to have food tomorrow. Those Maslow hierarchy of needs. but can I be my own source of happiness and pleasure and comfort and safety rather than needing the tribe? And I think once you find that, you then actually have better connections with people because there's not that insecurity of, oh shit, if I don't do X, Y, Z,
Yeah.
if I'm not this father, they will leave and I won't have them. And then who am I? So it's that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It might have been a bit all over the shop, but anyway.
Oh, interesting. So, how old were you when your daughter? How old were your kids when you left your ex-wife?
8 and 4.
Okay.
So I was 30.
And you moved to your own house?
Mm.
So you both had your own place?
Well,
basically?
she kept the house we were in and I'm in rented units.
Were you still down in Broken Hill?
No, Brisbane.
Oh, Brisbane, okay. So that would be interesting. Like
And the thing is, we had moved to Brisbane and all her family were there and they had become my family. But then all of a sudden, they're even gone. That extended network's gone because, well...
Yeah, they're not going to be there for you,
No.
really.
Well, there was the odd one, but yeah, but for the first couple of years it was like, no.
So
And
how long were
you lose
there?
that as well. You're like, oh, fire, I haven't got that family in
So how long you stayed in Brisbane after the divorce?
3 years after the divorce.
And so then when so that would have been 11 and 7,
Yeah.
your daughters. So
12,
then you
12
moved,
and
did you
8.
move then to Townsville?
Mm.
So they stayed down there.
Mm.
So how was this whole arrangement of seeing them?
So I think for the first 6 months I flew back every second weekend.
Oh wow.
Cost a lot of money. I was burnt out by the end of it too.
What were you doing back then? Were you working already here at JCU?
No, I was working at the hospital.
Oh okay.
Yeah. And so,
So
I would
that
come
would
back.
have
She
been
would work. She
challenging.
would work shift work, but then so I'd stay in the house with the kids, and then she'd stay in the house with the kids. Come home, sleep all day, and then we'd do stuff.
And you were there for the weekend, just
Yeah.
for the weekend.
So I'd fly down Friday night, fly back Sunday or Monday morning. Sunday night or Monday morning. Yeah,
And yeah, that's what 6 months you said.
pretty well. Yeah.
And then after that?
Well, then I got a girlfriend here, so I went, sorry, that's not going to work.
And so the girls will only see you on holidays, big holidays.
Mm.
Wow.
And then, and then I can talk to the fact that, you've got someone else's kids in your life, but it's never the same as your own.
So your girlfriend had
Yeah, her kids.
her kids. That is a different thing.
The things you learn about me, JJ. Yeah.
Well, it is different. Like, you know how I was... Because Nina has a friend, so my daughter's friend, her parents are also... A lot of couples are divorced, so their parents are divorced. And, one lives, they go to 1 week one house, 1 week another house. Everybody has different arrangements. And I was telling Nina that there's also some parents, what they do is they keep the house as the neutral zone, and then they both kind of move to some unit or something. And
The parents move each
the
week.
parents move, but the kids stay in the house.
Which I actually
That's
reckon.
interesting.
I reckon that's a better arrangement because I saw that my kids got happier when I left because they weren't going from home to home. There wasn't that tension of when you go to pick the kids up.
Well,
I'd pick them up on a Friday night and they'd be like, "You're all right, it's Friday night, I don't want to have to pack my bags and go, I want to stay home, chill out." And so when I saw...
And it's also how
shift.
parenting's different homes, so they come in and like, oh, now we're gonna eat this, and in the other house I was eating more. It's just, you can see that sometimes people say, well, they go to the mom and she doesn't really give them good food, so when they come the first 3 days, I take away all the sugar foods, and the kids are going mental because they're withdrawing, and then 3 days later they're fine, and then they have to go back to their mom.
I think
whatever.
I think it's of real value what you've experienced because you now have the thing of, well, if this relationship disintegrates, what's it going to be like? Because most guys, when they have time away from their families, they tend to go away with their mates and have fun and run amok. And
Yeah,
then
you
maybe
get
about a
away-
week
you
or
get
two,
away.
they're like, oh, you want to go home and see the missus, but it's not what you've had. And so to experience that, really, you really see that, what's going on here. And I mean, yeah, absence makes the heart grow fonder as well. But, so it really gives you that thing, okay, well, if I am thinking about Splitsville, what's it going to be like? And that's it, and it's never ending. Well, it's not. You might have the kids on, week off, right? But that's not the story for a lot of guys. They don't do the courts for a long time. I've just gone, you don't get the kids at all, or you might get to see them once a week. So
that's the not to see the kids is.
Oh,
like
and
that,
I was like,
that
really,
would have been really
good
hard
with
for you.
Oh,
far out, man.
I remember when they used to come and visit me, I told Willis the other day, they'd come and visit me for a holidays, and I would drop them at the airport and go drive somewhere and just sit and cry, because I loved my kids. But I also recognised, and I was a very hands-on dad. It's not like I didn't do much with them, but I recognised that living in that situation of an unhealthy relationship long term wasn't good for them. It was better for them to see both parents apart.
Yeah,
And they got to see me being me, because I always had to rein in who I was around the ex-wife. So I was able to be a different father, and probably the father I wanted to be, even though I wasn't full time.
Yeah, that would have been. Well, you were there full time for the first 3 years, but then it was when you moved here. Yeah. That would have been challenging, though, to me, giving away that space with the kids.
Very much so.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how I would do that.
So
they're old enough
cherish,
now.
think about that 1 week, and then think about, because Jess went out of town. So what does that motivate you to do as a father now? How does that change now that you've experienced that week, like the first 4 days of bliss? Like I was like that. That's probably maybe the first 6 months, because I just partied and had lots of people around. And then all of a sudden I went, that ran out of fun. And who am I? Where's my base? Where do I belong? Where's my house? All that stuff. Just you don't realise that it's there subconsciously till it's gone. And it's probably why I moved back to Townsville as well, because I had my family here. So then there was that sense of identity and security and support. And also that's my ex-wife ostracised me from my family. Like we never came for holidays up here. So the benefit of that was also the kids then got to know my family.
Okay, I see.
And they said that, we're glad you came up here, because now we got to know the other side of our family. So there's lots of positive decisions, as long as I saw how that would be, but it was still fucking hard.
But it was hard through the process. It's always like a growing pain sort of thing.
Yeah. Getting up in the morning, waking up in the morning, the kids are jumping on you in bed, and you're putting them to bed at night, playing, having fun with them. That's just, and you miss all the milestones, especially if you're in a different town.
Yeah, you don't get to see the growing up.
And then some people go to those in the same town, and the whole time they're just seething at the ex-partner, going, oh, fuck, she's a bitch. I'm like, well, I got over that, because I would go back. To start with, I wasn't. It was like, fucking bitch. But it is what, that's just part of that process of healing and getting through that and realising, it's just taking away from the moment I'm having with my children. So anyway, back to the question, how does that, for that short snippet that you saw it, how is that going to impact you on the decisions you make as a father? What is being a father to you then? Because that's the ultimate. What defines to you? Because I had to metamorphose that to, okay, I'm a different father now. I'm not a father who is there every day, all day. How is that going to look now? What's that going to look like? And I think I got there somehow, in a way, to probably there's a lot of acceptance of just this is the way it is. Although this morning when I woke up I didn't. But that was just old scripts running. And I saw, but I was able to see them. Like now it's the script of, well, I want to be a different grandparent, but I can't because of distance. And if they move to Brisbane, it's still distance. Because I grew up without a grandparents living in the same town. It was always like, so you never got really close with them. So I would love that, not only for me but for my granddaughter, that they have that, because I think there's a lot of value in elders and the experience they share. Anyway, so still asking that question because I'm rabbiting on.
Are you?
No, I'm not rabbiting on.
Couldn't tell.
He's
I'm expressing.
just love talking. Yeah.
Passionate about the topic.
Yeah. It's
Well,
a great
an
topic.
It's
So
an experience. For sure.
Some of the things that I learned. So I learned that there's parts of me that are too reliant on them being around. So as they were growing up, it wouldn't be a year or 2 years ago, I'd noticed that it felt like there were these like tendrils that were being wrapped around my heart by the kids, and it was sort of consciously going through trying to sever that connection so it doesn't drag me down when there is the absence. So it's not so much the kids and the family that is missed. There's a lot of work I've done in that sort of space of creating that separation as a conscious tool to guard against.
So an avoidant behaviour.
Yeah.
Avoidant attachment. To protect yourself?
It's not avoidant attachment, it's avoidant unhealthy attachment.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, like
that's what it was sounding like to me, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't want to...
You're protecting yourself and them.
Well, I'm just putting myself in the best position to make the best choices instead of operating off this emotional plane.
Yep.
Yeah, so alright, so now that I'm not going to do something, I'm not going to sacrifice myself for them. Same like the splitting with the partner, like I'm not going to do anything that I lose myself to be around them. Does that make sense? Like it's the tendrils are the unhealthy relationship. So being able to sever the tendrils helps me retain me. Yeah. So that idea and that stuff I've already sort of worked through, but it was the sort of structural frameworks of my life that I realised that I don't actually have. Like sitting around the house, none of that furniture is mine. I was like, oh fuck. I don't actually own anything. Like there's probably half a room full of stuff that I own. But then also the motivation factor of like, all right, how do I actually operate as a person external? So it was something that I'd sort of thought about last week and maybe the week before, is this idea of me being almost like, it's going to sound cheesy as fuck, but being like the sun. Like the sun, you are here and everything else moves.
Oh, you mean the sun in the sky?
Yeah.
I thought you meant like my son.
No.
You like that.
How did it go there? Sorry.
You are old enough to be my dad. Yeah, so being...
You've given me plenty of grey hairs.
Yes.
Already.
Yeah. So operating in that sort of space like the sun. Like the sun is there, everything orbits around that. The sun's not going to change and shift at all if one of the planets decide to fuck off. If all the planets decide to piss off. Maybe there'll be a bit of a shift in the path, maybe. But it's not actually really affected too much. It's going where it's going, and those planets are coming along for the ride.
Yeah.
So yeah, really trying to sort of focus in on protecting myself and my direction or my vision, what I'm heading towards, so that it's it is its own self-contained vehicle that drives me, instead of relying on something from them to add.
This sounds like a lot of the stuff that's coming out of like the Red Pill and Rising Kings, all that sort of stuff. Is that your purpose first, then family?
Yeah,
and
they
bring them along for the ride.
Yeah, it's essentially they follow in my wake, and I am sacrificing myself for myself. They get all the benefits. They can take of what's left. But I am number one, and they lose if I'm not.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's interesting thing you talk about the furniture, because I've had that a couple of times. But like the furniture, like that's not me, not materialistic, and like I realised that when my ex and I split up, I went, I don't really want any of this shit, and plus I didn't want it to impact the kids. You know, it was bad enough that they're having this upheaval of their family life. I went, you have it, and then I had to start buying all this stuff, and then when I left Brisbane, I just left it there and gave it away, and I moved up here, and then stayed with mum and dad, and then I moved in with a girlfriend, and all the stuff was hers. So I didn't bring any of my stuff up, and then when we split up, I was like in this house with basically a bed in it, and you know what a house sounds like when there's nothing in it? It's just echoing. So on top of the loneliness, it was just this is creepy. This is weird.
It's fucking great reverb in here.
So
I need to put up some of these eggshells.
Nothing was yours.
Well, no, because there was some things, but most of the furniture, because she already had a full house, right, when we moved in together. And so I didn't need to buy anything. So everything I had in Brisbane, I just either sold or left behind. And I was like, well, there was no point in me bringing anything. I mean, I acquired a couple of things, but not much. So then when we split up, most of it was hers. It was gone. It was like, I mean, I think I had a TV. I think I had a bed. I think
Basics.
I had a sideboard. No, I bought that for her. I said, that's staying with me. And then I had to buy it all again. And so people say to me, oh, you should have heaps of money. Oh, no. When you've had to reset your life up a number of times, you don't realise you got to buy toasters and kettles and knives and forks and all that shit.
All the little things,
Yeah, all adds up. You just go to Kmart, load your trolley up with every cheap to shoot. So all that happens.
Were you in that house, renting that house, or you moved to a new house?
Which one?
When you broke up with it?
No, we owned it.
Oh, so you owned it together?
Yeah, she moved out, and then we were trying to rent rooms out, and it wasn't working, so then I moved out and we tried to rent the house out. Until we settled financially, and then she moved back in, and I went, you buy me out, which was another whole story we don't have, that takes too long. That was 12 months of hell.
Wow, that would have been interesting.
Yeah. And you can also see, I've got friends who haven't got kids of their own, get into relationships with other people who've got kids, and they then become really connected with these kids, and then they're like, if we split up, these children I've now made this connection with and I have probably fathered, if they split, I don't have any rights, and I may not ever see these children again. And they're like, they have that epiphany. Like the guy I work with, he's like that. He's one day, she leaves, I've made this amazing connection, but it'll be all gone. Or even if she dies, for example, the kids go to the father, he might go, you don't have anything to do with them.
Yeah.
So they then have to go, again, who am I, what have I done? I've just invested 8 years of this child's life and I get nothing for it. So that's why, guys are reluctant sometimes to go with a girl with kids, because what happens in that case? You've invested. I know. Although I didn't really connect with my stepkids, but it's a thing you just don't think about until it's happening. You go, shit, I invest all my time in these kids. It's not like I have any rights. So
it's
still
kind of
seeing
like
how
your
they go.
identity, but they
So you become a
have to
father again, and
identify.
you lose, and you can't even have this sort of more fatherhood where you see them every second weekend or whatever. It's just gone. Now that doesn't happen in every case, but a lot of cases it does. But anyway,
Wow.
what's your experience of fatherhood?
Well, for me, it's been pretty much dead set. I've been in it for 15 years now with Jamie in it.
Is Jamie your oldest?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jamie's the oldest.
The alpaca.
Alpaca.
Alpha.
Alpaca.
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 I mean,
Who did we say you look like? No, it was alpaca.
alpaca.
Yeah, keep going. Sorry, I shouldn't have.
No, so basically, that was. It was interesting because when Jamie was born, when we had Jamie, Leanne and I have been dating for about 3 years. So it wasn't intentional, it wasn't like we wanted to have kids, but it
So
happened.
it was an accident.
It was an accident.
told
It was
that.
a mistake. No, I'm joking. It was an accident. It was an
one too many
accident.
brews.
It was an accident for sure. And and I remember that day finding out when she was pregnant. She was devastated. Leanne
Oh,
was
really?
devastated. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what's gonna do." And obviously
You
she
virile
thought,
man, you-
and because I at that stage we both were foreigners. We both were
Oh,
students.
yeah.
We weren't Australian citizens. We weren't Australian. And so it was kind of one of those situations where, like what's going to happen if she has the baby, then I'm going to have, I want to be at that, but if I have to go, I have to go. It's not like I don't have control over the staying in the country or anything.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a kind of like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? What am I going to do? I don't have a job. I'm still studying because we were still in uni. So I think for me
So the
that was
pressures of fatherhood got thrust onto you very quickly.
Yeah, it was I mean, Leanne had already the intention of staying in the country, and she was working with a lawyer, and her dad was helping her through. And when we told Leanne's parents, Leanne's dad was clear. He said, "Look, don't just stay because you feel you have to. Like, if you stay, it's because you want to stay and you want to be part of this, but." It's no point in, you don't want to start a relationship, this married relationship like this, not that married, but, this relationship just because you feel there's a duty behind that, And I said to him, look, I've been with Leanne for 3 years, so it's not like we don't have a relationship. We get along, things are good, but this is definitely going to shake things up, and I'm not sure what's going to happen. So... Yeah, that's pretty much straight after that, she applied as a resident, and Leanne's dad said, if I can help you because you will come de facto, so you could apply with Leanne if you want to, if you would want. He said, look, I'm gonna stay. My plan was, so what I decided is I have to find some sort of modality that is something recognizable and within Australia. I think you had at that stage it was a chef, nurse, hairdresser,
Teachers, probably.
like one of those,
Doctor.
Well, doctor I wouldn't have been able to do. I don't think I had the mental capacity. But I was
Been
thinking
a hairdresser.
hairdresser potentially. I'm still thinking maybe I should
Comedian.
become a barber.
Palm olive.
Comedian.
Quite crazy hairdressers. I'm still, what the hell? Anyway, that was
Shorty
my
job.
plan. That was my plan. So
No
I
one wants
finished
to touch
school,
your hair.
and then I would have looked for some way to get a loan or something to study. But no, Leanne's dad was already saying, look, we're applying already. We just have to add your name. It's not like you have to pay extra or anything.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that would be a lot easier, and then I can move from here. So yeah, I think that was a bit. I was blessed, and it was, and I'm the same. Like I walked in with nothing to offer, but me, So. Everything that was on, everything that we had in the relationship was not mine. It was not, that didn't belong to me, and it was very challenging. I think those first few years, just being, and then we had Nina, which was not really, it was soon after. Nina was about 19 months later, so it was pretty quick. And I want, like I said to Lee, you know, I don't want just one child. This feels kind of, one just felt very, so Nina was more intentional. We're like, look, it'd be nice to have just a companion. We don't know when, because it can be any time, but it's just, you know, you never know, because once they have a baby, you don't know how far they've, you know, everything changes in a way. So yeah, that was a bit that Nina was, you know, was a little bit more receptive to be with Nina. I was expecting a boy, we got a girl. So that was interesting. I thought I was gonna have two mongrels, you know. But Nina was really, it's been beautiful to have that dynamic of having a boy and a girl, just to see the difference. And it's definitely, you'd learn to be different. Like, in your case, you have three, so it's you know, three in one go. It would be very different to have. But you know, when you have that boy really rough and then on the other side, this really gentle girl, just soft and.
But they can be different. Like my two girls are completely different as well, and I think you probably know.
I think they are. But the contrast, for me was that, you know, maybe because, you know, you have boys that are not tough and rough, like they're more gentle. But Jamie was a bit more like, yeah, you know, let's do. Whereas Nina was different. She screamed like hell, man. Honestly, she has this scream that I think I lost hearing from her screams.
Oh, the shudders! It shudders in your ear.
You go, oh my God,
tinnitus
how
for
do
the
you
rest of
do
your
it?
life.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I think it's been, for me, you know, it's also been tough because I'm far away from anything.
Yeah, family.
You know, anything that I know. So to me, this has been my construct, and I've been in that position where I go, what if, you know, I decided to stuff this, I'm going on my own. It's like restart where? Because everything that I know is Leanne's family. So it's not like I have a cousin or, like, you know, I'm talking family that you can just go, look, I need this. No, it's not like that. So it's really establishing good friendships and good networks. Yeah, it's being away. It's been probably the most challenging for me.
Question then, have you noticed, I've noticed that men tend to, I don't know, this is my experience, tend to be the ones who more sacrifice their connection with their families and allow the female's family to dominate that social aspect. So I saw that with my mum and dad. I did it. I've seen, well, there's you for an example. I've seen other guys do it too, and I don't know if it's the norm or whether it's just what I see. So happy to hear other people's
I suppose it's,
experiences.
you know, and it's the same. Like my sister obviously is closer to my parents.
Yeah.
The kids, my sister kids are closer to my parents. And you know, if I look at my grandparents, I'm closer to my mom's parents. Well, I was close to my mom's parents and my dad's parents. Not that I love them more or less, they just were more, they were there a lot more. I suppose it's because when the mom has the babies, the mom tends to be the one there first, you know, like I need to take care of my daughter. And it was like that even the first, when we had Jamie, Leanne's mom was there for the birth. Which, yeah, I think it was intense for her to be there. And so with Nina, we said, you're not coming with us. But, you know, they're there from kind of the inception of the whole thing, whereas guys...
I hope they weren't there from the contraception.
For the inception, for the beginning of the whole thing. Whereas it's not the same with parents, with guys' parents. In my case, obviously, my parents are not here. Like, they didn't have the ability to just buy a plane ticket. That's one factor. Leanne's parents were already living in Australia, like part-time. They were in Australia.
Have you seen it in other friends where that's the same case? I'm curious.
I would say yes, in certain instances. I've seen that more, yeah. Just because, you know, usually the mother's the one that gets the kids or takes the kids. And
this is her mother.
Yeah, there's more spending time with her mother, and it seems to be the case that I see it. I don't know why. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, this is why I think it's because of the parents.
Mm.
You know, but
Have you seen that?
Seen what?
So where the females, when you have the kids, the female side of the family seems to become the more prominent aspect of the life compared to the father's family.
Yep.
That makes sense.
So
there's more of, we do more with this, the mother's family or mother's family.
It's all dependent on the partnership, and it's who's going to complain more.
Yeah.
If the dude's mum is a banshee,
Yeah, true.
then you're not going to get
I've
away
also
with it.
met many of those.
yeah,
But yeah, he's not going to whinge and complain about it or kick up a stink as much as she would.
Yeah.
But also, like JJ, she's.
but you
Women are
know, we
more
go where
predominantly
Leanne's
taking care of the
parents
kids.
go as well. Like I find that Leanne will chase Leanne out of the. So Leanne has two older brothers, and you know Leanne is always closer to her parents. Like she will kind of follow if the parents decide to move, or if the parents get really sick, or she would be the one that goes and takes care of them. Not that the brothers wouldn't be involved, but they wouldn't be as involved. So that makes it.
So
also
they then are more involved with their partners' families, do you think?
who?
Leanne's brothers.
Yeah, for sure.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
if the,
so
if the,
that's what I
if
mean.
the,
It
it's,
seems to be
it
the-
seems
there's
to be
that
this
thing
kind of
of
drawing of it, yeah.
The girls make the family stronger, the boys make the families bigger. It's just the way
Yeah,
that
okay.
it is. I remember somebody saying that, but it's like, the girls
That's curious.
is what actually keeps the family together.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you had like a family of like 4 or 5 girls, just girls, Christmas would, like you knew you wouldn't be allowed to not attend Christmas.
I know. My ex-wife was one of 7 girls.
Yeah, like of course you would have to get stuck there.
If you don't turn up.
Yeah, because you can't betray your
Disrespect the
sisters.
connection.
Like it's your fucking sister. But whereas boys is different. Like you can go, don't give a shit about each other as much as.
Well, you'd rather
You
just
would
go
do.
fishing or
Yeah.
do some blokey thing together than
Yeah.
we've got to get together and sing Kumbaya.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I didn't know your partner had 7 sisters. And
6 sisters, yeah.
Or 6
Jeez,
sisters.
that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, you had absolutely no fucking chance.
Oh hell no! That's why we used to get to Christmas and all the brother-in-laws would get together and just get drunk.
Yeah.
Because there'd also invariably be a fight. 7 girls together.
There's
Someone's
a
not
little
gonna be
drama.
happy.
There's a little
always
drama going on.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like
Welcome to the chicken chicks.
one Christmas. Oh, that's the story for another day. I'll tell you that story.
No, but it's funny how
Someone got arrested. Put it that way.
wow, that's intense.
One of the brother-in-laws got the shits and drunk drive and crashed the car. He just had enough of them. He drove off and ran into
Oh,
something.
nice.
Mm.
And it would just thrive off the drama too.
Oh,
like you could just see.
Constantly.
Oh, they
Like
probably
just
love
just
talking.
waiting for
And
something.
it's
The
still
next
going.
Christmas.
And it's still going on. I hear the stories.
The
I
next
hear the
Christmas,
stories.
everyone will be waiting for it too. Fucking
Yeah, they
something's
tell
going to
me.
kick off.
Someone tells me, or one of
Yeah.
the other brother-in-laws who's still in the family will tell me, like, apparently, like, you meet them all, and they're all, like, got well-paying jobs, they're, like, you know, pillars of middle-class society. Apparently 2 of them had a big old punch-up. One got their bloody tendon.
Is this the girls?
Yeah, they got a tendon torn in her arm. And it's like, she showed me, because I went to my nephew's graduation into the firefighters. He was up here, and they came up. She was going, yeah, she tore this, and I was just like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not in this family anymore. I just laugh and go, it's still going on.
Well, they never die. Family feuds, family issues.
Well, it's
Yeah, but
it's
I
a
don't have
part.
any, I don't have any punch-ups in my family.
A lot of the
There's
reasons,
boys.
a lot of the reasons why reality TV is the thing is
that's-
because of that's what people need. That's what you
Yeah,
needed.
yeah.
You needed that type of drama, and because it's just fucking boring, and
Yeah.
everyone's got their shit together.
Yeah, true.
You
Well,
need, you need the spice
if
and the
everybody's
flavour.
having a little bit of, everybody's having a good time in reality TV, nobody would be enjoying it. They have
Or
to
is it the other
find
way?
the
People
drama.
watch reality TV and then they go, we need some drama in our lives.
Yeah, that's
I
that's
think
an
it does
interesting
generate it.
subject. I think
Yeah.
is the whole
We'll go, oh, this is
reality TV.
exciting, let's have some of this over here.
But it's also like creating new memories too, new experiences. Like, yeah, they're shit, but it's better than not, like, it being completely forgettable.
Us boys used to get drunk and do stupid shit. There's some memories.
Yeah.
Reality
yeah.
TV shows.
So, what do you reckon coming back to topic, what do you reckon the hardest thing of being, or most challenging, let's use challenging, of being a father is? Coming from someone who's got 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4,
3-year-olds.
which
Wow.
sounds very challenging to me. Someone who's is still in that mid-range where they're teenagers and they're forming their identity and starting to push against to, I've now got adult children who don't fucking talk to you half the time and won't answer your messages because they've got their own life, and yet
They don't answer your messages.
Sometimes they don't, throw out days, and it's also because they've got their own life and they're doing their own thing, and that's all cool. Like,
I'll make sure I answer your messages then.
no, it doesn't really ring. I'm getting used to it now.
I'll write it down here.
You write messages to Ian every time.
Like, I will actually start. My oldest daughter, I'll need some details on something to do with, like, I'm travelling or whatever. So I'm trying to organise it, and she will not answer me because she's a classic. Leave everything to the last minute. She is me when I was that age.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm a bit more of a planner, right? Because I see what happens. You fucking don't buy your flight till 2 days beforehand. It's really expensive. So I'll actually start spamming her. I'll just start spamming her. Hello, are you gonna answer me? Did it until she fucking answers me.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't do it too much now. She's gotten better at it, but I saw it. I saw it when she was over there, and her mother would ring her, and she would just not answer, and so her mother would just keep ringing. But then she goes, "This is what Mum does, Dad." And she was busy. Given she was busy, so
all right. Well.
so you start to. But I can remember when my oldest, like, we used to talk a lot on the phone. As soon as she turned 18, it just it stopped. I was like,
What's that?
just the communication, it just shut down. So she left school, she had a boyfriend, she was working, you know, all this sort of stuff. It's not cool to hang out with Dad anymore. She kind of discovered she wasn't ugly duckling anymore. She thought she was the ugly duckling, and then when she all went to the formal and then realised, hey, I'm actually good looking, I'm getting all this
Attention.
Attention.
But a good friend of mine, I said, oh, this is so frustrating, you know, blah, blah, blah. She goes, what the fuck were you doing at 18, Ian? Were you calling your parents constantly? Were you hanging out with them all the time?
No.
I went, no, I was working for them. That's probably the only time I saw them. And then when I moved to Broken Hill, my mum would ring me 3 months down the track and go, are you still alive? So when I had that recollection, that I was exactly the same. It was like, okay, let it go. And then when I found out they do that to their mother as well, I'm like, oh, it's not just me. And then when I found out they do it to each other, the two sisters, I'm like, oh, okay,
It's just the way it is.
they're just busy or they're tired or. But I don't know, I've seen them sit there, people send them a message, they go, oh yeah, I'm done with it, it's right. My youngest one's a shock. My youngest one's gotten worse as well, but it is what it is.
No, the worst is when you write the message and then you put it thinking you sent it.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
haven't
3
hit the
days
send
later
button.
and I
Yeah,
haven't
yeah, I've
sent
done
it.
that plenty of
Ah.
I actually did that today to someone.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to
So
the
the
question. Most challenging thing.
before we close.
Yeah, go. I don't know what time you've got to go.
Yes,
Apart from not having them around and realising how challenging that is.
The relationship with my partner and learning more about what faulty mental models I had built myself up into. So nothing to do with the kids. It was just managing relationship. How does the relationship work? All the kids stuff was a piece of cake. It was one of the things that I had sort of done growing up. I was 9 years old when my triplet siblings were born. So we had to do a lot of stuff for them.
But you have triplet siblings as
Yeah.
well. So this is a genetic thing in the family.
My mum is
A
like the
triplet as
only
well.
person that can help. She's like the only person to
That's
support that we could
understands it.
rely on. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
So I was 9 years old. We did a lot of stuff for them, and then sort of help. And
So
then
you
me
got
being
that
the sort of
already entrenched in you
You already
to
knew what
be.
to do.
yeah. I was ready from the get go, and even sort of as I was 16, 17, and they were sort of just hitting mid primary, sort of stepping into that role of trying to be that older brother and almost like a de facto father, and then getting shut down by my family too, being like, no, it's not your place yet to
Not your job.
yeah, not your job, just do the fucking dishes or something. So yeah, that sort of built that resentment. It was like, nah, fuck you. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna make sure I do it, and I'll do a better job than you cunts.
Stubborn.
So yeah,
I think that's called stubborn.
well then it was just looking at all right, go through, and I was doing all the kid stuff, sorted, not a problem. Like Jess didn't even want to have kids,
All right.
so we took that. That's how ready to be a father I was to.
Oh, so you wanted kids.
Yeah. She didn't want kids. She didn't want kids at all.
You
Wasn't even
convinced
open to the
her.
idea.
You convinced her.
Well, it was an accident.
Accidental triplets.
Oh,
Holy
and
shit.
they know how to
Accidental
swim, man.
triplets.
They like swimmers for
Boy,
sure.
fucking sniper, eh?
Yeah. You virile beast.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had my own accident, but that one got sorted out.
So yeah, raising kids, not a problem. Wasn't what I needed to actually do. The mental frameworks though, on how I thought a man should act and behave in the world, and what pitfalls that I was trying to avoid. So I built myself up in this sort of real weird, retarded way that was unstable and didn't actually facilitate a healthy relationship. So the hardest part was actually reconstructing or deconstructing and reconstructing who I thought I was as a man and as a father, and just the role of the masculine. That was the hardest part, but I couldn't have noticed it unless I'd had kids and sort of watched that relationship spiral out of control. Yeah.
Wow.
Do you want to go next? Because then we've kind of got
Yeah,
the
sure.
timeline of
For me,
young kids, middle-aged kids,
I think
older
for
kids.
me the challenging thing
What?
as a parent, there's a couple, but I find that obviously change, even though it is a challenge, it's also exciting. Like seeing your kids change and go from being little when you're thinking, oh my gosh, and then you get to an age and you start getting very happy with this age, and you're like, oh, this is fun, and then they start growing and you're going, oh, this is a little bit weird, I'm not sure if I want to see this, and this keeps going and going, and you just kind of learn to adapt to that.
Yeah.
But it is also a bit sad because you're like, oh, they're no longer that person anymore, there's something else now, they're finding themselves in the world, I suppose. So that in itself is challenging. The other one is how I was brought up, how my parents brought me up, and how I'm bringing up my children and seeing the flaws, the good and the bad, because I don't think every parent's perfect. They bring everything into the equation, and you see it from that angle, and you think, okay, how did my parents do it when I was that age? I had this very different relationship that I have with my children now that I had with my parents. So, for example, little things like when I talk to Jamie about things that are now of his age, like he's coming to this age where he's now looking at girls, and he's getting a little bit more into that interest. I never had a conversation like that with my dad. Never.
Good looking alpaca.
Yeah. I never had really talks about that with him. Never. My dad never spoke to me about anything.
Because he's such a gentleman, your dad.
But it's what I'm saying is that wasn't the conversations that we had, and I think not that's good or bad, but it's sometimes you need that guidance, and I think my dad played the role of providing, and I think also if we look at that generation, that maybe if I look at even Leanne's dad, and they were providers. They were almost never home because they were working all the time. Like my dad would leave home at 6 in the morning, wouldn't come till like 9 at night for a long part of my life. So I don't remember seeing my dad that much. And then, you know, if I did something wrong and my mom couldn't handle me, my dad would come with a belt and, you know, that you sort it out, sort of thing. So that was the relationship. And my dad was very strict in that way. So, and now it's changed. You know, I've seen him change a lot, and he's realized. And he wasn't abusive. Like my dad was not an abusive person, but he was strict. You know, and he used back in the day. You would use a little bit of flesh to get things. Force. Yeah, that's the way it was. Whereas nowadays, God forbid if I go and give Jamie a spank. You know, like you have to. You know,
a bit old for that.
He probably hit you back.
No, but even when he was younger, man. I mean, think about that, you know. So yeah, that's probably a bit of a challenge because now I also need to learn how to communicate with him. And you know, back like also, Jamie has a bit of attention deficit. He listens to things different. You need to talk to him in a different way. So it's how you approach something when you think my dad would have just given me a hit me in the den, and then boom, my dad would do it. Whereas. And I've never responded back to my dad. Oh my gosh, if I said something back to my dad, if he was talking to me and I talk back, boom, you know, you're done. Like, shut up. You don't say anything. Okay, I'll shut up, put my head down. Very submissive in that way. Whereas Jamie, I let him have more of a voice. Like Leanne said, you need to let him have a voice. That's part of being growing up and development. I said, oh, well, how do you manage that without wanting to tear the house apart? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So managing my anger has been a challenge as well. Because it's okay to be angry, but it's also learning to go, okay, how do I do it? How do I do this without being, you know, explosive to them? So yeah, that's happened more as they grow, because now Jamie's, you know, this last year has been amazing though. I've learned a lot of how to talk to him, and I can be, don't do that, and he will listen. Whereas if I did that 2 years ago, he would go crazy.
How old was he? 2 years ago, how old?
13. Like he was like now you can see he's already like, and he's doing some weights.
Well, I think what I used to see at the youth detention centre working there, like at that age of like 12, 13, 14,
the explosive
shit.
Yeah.
I know.
So hit 15, they're alright.
My ex-girlfriend's son was 8 when I met him, but as soon as he got to 12, 13, oh, like, geez.
Weird, huh?
And I think it's also like
they get a surge.
It's good. Like Jamie sees us all interacting. Like you said, that's great for him because then he sees us mucking around. He enjoys it, and it's like that role models.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've always wanted
taking a piss.
I like having those, you know, especially male friends around that are old, because he doesn't see you as a parent figure. He sees you as more as a male role model,
like a granddad.
Well, I am one.
So what is for you your biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge probably has been, well, I'll talk about previously quickly, but then what it is now. The biggest challenge I think for me was different parenting styles, and that conflicting was big. So I come from a very didn't get ever hit. The worst punishment my father could give me was, I'm disappointed with you and I'm not playing with you. It was that kind of punishment. So but we also had a lot of fun, a lot of play. And not as probably strict on doing a lot of chores, right? So, whereas my ex-partner came from a family of violence.
Clearly,
some violence. Not from her father, from her mother, where it was catered properly and you worked and you did chores and there wasn't as much of that fun. And so I had this fun attitude but I command the respect from my children because I was not only their father, I was their friend. They even to today will say, he's more like a big brother. But if I get serious and say, don't listen, right?
When you stomp on the ground and say, I'm being serious now.
Yeah, okay. I throw myself on the ground, so, and the ex-partner, she did hit them from time to time, which I did not like, because I didn't grow up in that, and for me that was like, you don't need to do that. And so there was that real, and I allow the kids to be themselves more, whereas she was trying to mould them into who she wanted to be. Whereas I was just like, so it was like, that was half about,
That would
you're
be
always
tough.
the fun one, and I'm like, well, like you were talking about the other day, there's balance. There's fun, but there's all right. You need to go to bed. You need to do this, but you can do it in a serious way without being angry. And
the power comes from the contrast.
yeah. Like my dad said something, if he was like, okay, because there was never that constant fucking anger all the time, which you just went, oh, that's just normal. It's not. It has no impact anymore. So and I saw that again with my ex-girlfriend with her kids. So step parenting is a whole other fucking different thing, because where do your boundaries lie in terms of
You have no
discipline?
boundaries. They are not your children.
That's right. So we had this conversation as part of this. Go, okay, you want me to help you parent? Because she said you don't help them. Big mistake. Do you want me to help you parent? Righto, okay, I will. So then they'd be having an argument. They'd be going off at her, and I go, don't speak to your mother like that. She would turn on me.
The mother?
Yep. The mother tiger would turn and go, don't you fucking talk to my children. And I'm like talking calmly, not yelling at him, going, stop talking to your mother like that. And then she just boom, turn on me. And I'm like, right, this ain't happening anymore. You're looking after, you're disciplining these children. But then you have no respect for them, and then they treat you like shit because they know they can get away with it. Because like, they can say whatever I want, and if he says anything to me, Mum will just turn on him. So step parenting can be a whole other kettle of fish.
Oh, that's
Because
bad.
they're not your kids, and they
Of
just
course.
go, you're not my fucking dad, I don't have to listen to you.
That's right.
And they're right. But then you go, well, I said to one of them, your dad's not here, and I pay for half the roof over your head. So you will listen right now, but never had any impact. So that was done. So she also had, like, she would swear at the kids and call them little cunts and all sorts of names, which I just sit there and go, what are you doing? And
You can pick them, though. You can pick them.
yeah.
Picks good ones.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm single for so long. So anyway, no, the one I had in America was not like that at all. She was really nice.
How long were you with this other chick?
3 or 4 years.
Okay. So you...
I worked it out a bit quicker this time.
Still
She
took
was
4
hot-
years.
She was hot. She was high on the crazy. She was high on the crazy hot scale, right?
Well, she had. She was hot.
Big fat titties. Anyway,
You need that scale. That's like, I showed
I
that
live
to
by a
Jamie. I
scale, I
said,
know.
you need to look at the scale
Yeah.
because it's so true.
anyway, so that's probably the biggest challenge I found was different parenting styles. So I think, like you said, it comes down to relationship. And I said to the girlfriend I had in America, the children are best. The children come second to the relationship. You have a good solid relationship, and then the children just, like you said, like following behind. So sort that shit out, and everything.
And that is true because when I see friends that have a good relationship, the kids are just fly easily. No,
You're just setting an example.
Consistency.
Yeah.
And I think that's been a struggle for me as well, the parenting at times, and it's just now with Lee and I are starting to be more. We need to be on the same page because the moment you say one thing and I say the opposite in front of the kids,
Consistency.
it's like you
So
cut
that's the same as like you were saying before when you asked me like when. Now my ex I with the kids are, she's parenting here and I'm parenting there. She's telling them one thing and I'm going here, and you're like,
that was
so there's a challenge of where do the boundaries even lie, and you have to. It's like I don't want to say tightrope, but it is sometimes you have to be cautious about what you say, how you say it, what direction you give them, because you know the ex-partner, and they tell you, oh, mum said this, and you're like, oh, fuck, well, I don't agree with that. How do I navigate not agreeing with that without looking like an asshole, saying your mother's wrong, but giving them advice that has worked for you or you think will work for them without trying to feel like you're undermining their relationship with the other parent.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot
But
of...
that's also like, can you do that from one side? Like you can't do it if one person doesn't want to play ball.
Oh yeah, it's
So
it's
it's-
difficult. But you don't always know also what the other parent is saying, because kids in split relationships will play play parents against each other.
Yeah, it's naturally. Why the fuck wouldn't they?
You know, I know my youngest daughter comes to me and bags her mother out to me. I'm like, what are you saying?
Yeah,
about
you
me?
probably do the same shit.
What are you saying about
me?
Yeah. I'm not stupid.
Yeah, right. Well, that's a wrap.
And she bags her stepdad out as well.
Oh, she's terrible. Why? Alrighty, that's a wrap. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ian, for your input. Thank you, Will. That was an amazing conversation. Everybody that's listening, thank you for listening, and I hope that you come for the next ones in the future. There's more subjects that we can cover and things that you might find interested. Maybe we should even ask people to send us some questions or something we want to discuss. Cool.